Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Amazing High Adventure number 4, a very interesting Marvel comic from the mid-80s. It lasted 5 issues. I think at one point I owned all of them, and I'm pretty sure the reason why I only own this issue now, if I remember correctly, is because at the time at least, or 10 years later, I thought the other ones didn't cut the mustard. They weren't worthy of my library. But this one still is pretty amazing, and I'm glad I kept this one. But now part of me wants to look at those other issues again, because there's a lot of great creators in all of them. And maybe I was a little too hasty. But for now, I got this, and this is what we're going to look at today. And this was an interesting experiment from Carl Potts, the editor at Marvel. He just wanted to make an anthology comic that was like no superheroes, no science fiction, just high adventure. And so it's almost like a EC comic, like Two-Fisted Tales or something. But a lot of interesting creators and some really good stuff. Speaking of great creators, look at this beautiful John Bolton cover. Full-on painted mode. Oh man, that's just gorgeous. So we have the contents page with that Carl Potts design. He was an editor / designer. So all of his comics kind of looked a little different than most Marvel comics. So here's the first story, The Golden Eagle. Look at this art, guys. This is the John Bolton story that was illustrated on the cover. And every panel is painted in this. It's beautiful. This is written by Alan Zelenetz, who pretty much just wrote in the 80s, it seems. I don't know what happened to that guy. Wrote a lot of Conan. I think pretty much just Marvel. And, of course, John Bolton doing everything else, except for letters. And we start off in Bedlam, the famous insane asylum in London. It's 1815. And this framing sequence of Bedlam, this is the kind of the most interesting part of the story. It's actually horrifying, just because we see these rich types, and I guess they would pay the guards at Bedlam after hours to pay them a penny or a farthing to just go in there and gawk at these poor insane people, for entertainment value. But look, these people are just sad, sick people. It's really disgusting. So the guard, of course, he's done this before. So he's pointing out the more interesting inhabitants of this insane asylum. God, this art is beautiful. And he shows them a couple of, typical kind of kooky people. And then he says, but this one, he says, now here's a wretch as utterly undone as ever man was. And I guess he's really afraid of fire, this guy. And, he's not really performing. He's just sitting there. He's insane. It's, he's not dressed up like Napoleon, like in movies where, mental patients are so colorful and funny. No, he's just sitting there, half catatonic, And so the guard grabs a torch and waves it in his face to get a reaction out of him. So this guy is phobic of flames, and this is, it's just so evil. And look at these fucking rich cunts here. Just this jump for us. Oh man. So this guy says, the flames, And now we do the flashback. So this is a few months ago, and we see this soldier, and his name is Henry Blackshaw. I'm sorry, it's the same guy from the mental institution. This is his flashback. He's near Waterloo, and this is the day before the big battle, the infamous Battle of Waterloo. And God, just some more of this gorgeous art. So this guy, he's a soldier, and he's an English soldier, and he's got this passion for wresting a golden eagle banner from the French. So back then, armies would, have their standard, I should say, not banner. And the French one is a golden eagle. Any man who could get one, any English soldier, you would just be treated like a fucking hero, I mean, so he is obsessed with this idea of getting one of those golden eagle standards. Everyone knows it, and they kind of make fun of him about it. Oh, dreaming about the golden eagle again, huh? He even gets in a fight about it. One of these soldiers gives him shit about it, and it turns into fisticuffs. Of course, the other soldier says, save it for Napoleon's troops. So that afternoon, he's in a tree sniping. He's a sniper. He kills a French soldier, and then in the distance, he sees more troops coming, and it's one of those golden eagle standards. And look at him, he's rapturous. He's like, oh, he really wants this fucking thing so bad. But then the troops start firing at him. So the English soldiers retreat. They all kind of barricade in this old stone house. And the French attack. God, this is some great battle scenes. Like, literally, this is up there with Two-Fisted Tales. That's some really beautifully drawn stuff. And so they're fighting off the French. And the French are slowly making their way in. And our hero here, I already forgot his name, fuck it. We'll call him our hero. Our hero hears a rumor that there might be a golden eagle on the premises. So he's totally just like, I must see. He kind of breaks rank just to find this golden eagle. He thinks it's in the courtyard. Another great panel, look at that. And so things are going worse for him. It looks like the French are... there's too many Frenchmen to fight back. They're coming in through everywhere. They're even coming in through the roof here. Look at that painted panel right there. How gorgeous that is. So they fire up at the French soldiers, and they fall through the ceiling, and a fire breaks out. Henry, that's the hero. Henry's best friend, Nicholas, is trapped under some of the roof wood, and the fire is getting closer to him. And he's like, Henry, I'm pinned. But then Henry looks away, and he sees through the mist, through the smoke, he sees the golden eagle. And his friend's like, Henry, please, it's like an oven over here. And Henry ditches him. Henry must have that golden eagle. And of course, Nicholas is like, for heaven's sake, man, save me. Where are you going? But he's got this mania for it. Look at the fire here, painted by Bolton. So he runs out, and a French horseman comes up. He kills him, fights his way through some other ones. He's possessed with this amazing fury because he wants the gold standard so much. And it looks like the English have routed the French infantry. And he keeps saying, but where's the golden eagle? I know I saw it. And he asks another English soldier. And he said, this English soldier says, nah, there was no golden eagle anywhere close to here. And finally, he thinks about Nicholas. He's crestfallen that there's no golden eagle. But then he's like, oh, Nicholas, shit. And when he goes back, the whole place is ablaze. And he does try to bravely fight his way through the fire to save Nicholas, but he almost dies in the effort. And now we come back to the present. And that poor guard, not poor guard, that shitty guard is threatening him with the torch. I guess he put on a good show for these rich swells, so he leaves him alone eventually. And we see Henry with his thoughts. I saw it, Nicholas, believe me, through the gun smoke, a golden eagle. Man, really good story. I mean, it seriously is like Two-Fisted Tales worthy. Writing and art. Well, one might say the art's even better. Sorry, I believe me, I love those comics, but that John Bolton art, they didn't have painted colors back then. So now we have The Door. This is written by Bill Mantlo and art by John Severin. This is another reason alone I would keep this comic. And, the colors are by Marie Severin. So, it's New York, 1851. We see these two brothers, Royal and Roman Garland. They own a furrier business. It's very successful. But Roman has got wanderlust. He's always arguing with his brother. He's like, these balancing ledgers are like chains around me. There's a whole world out there I want to explore. And his brother's like, we worked our asses off to have this business and make it successful. What are you talking about? He's like, I'm going out west. I want freedom. So, this part I don't quite understand. Where he goes out the door and slams the door, I guess so hard that the door falls off. And for some reason, Roman's like, maybe I will take this piece of the business after all. Look at the line work of Severin here. The cracked plaster. So nice. So he books passage on a train to the west. Everyone's saying, why the hell do you have that door? He says, a man never knows what he might need. As for my magic door, all I've got to do is step on through it, and I'm on my way west. I guess he thinks that's a funny little joke. So the train gets him only so far, and then he gets on a barge, like a river raft barge. River raft barge? A river raft, I think, is fine. They go through some rapids. The raft sinks, but his door saves his life. He's about to be pulled under the water. He finds the door. It actually saves a lot of people from the raft. He says, come on, guys, children, climb on board. Everyone else, hold on. So then he gets on a wagon train to go further west. And I guess they sent out 2 scouts, because this is a Indian country. And they find the scouts dead. So they're like, oh, shit. And then right then, a whole bunch of Indians come over this hill. They circle the wagons and try to fight, try to kill the Indians. And it looks like they're done for. And then right then, the cavalry arrive, American soldiers, and they scare off the Indians. So he basically tells them, guys, you should just settle here. This is fine land. I know you wanted to go farther west, but really, it's just going to antagonize the Indians. It's a bad time right now. And everyone kind of agrees. They're like, yeah, this is pretty nice here. I think they're in Nebraska or something. And so Roman, with the last of his money, that he barters his wagon for a homestead, a little house. And the guy who sells it to him actually says, yeah, I built her nice and snug, but I just never got around to putting a door on it. And of course, Roman's like, oh, well, I have my own door. I thought that was kind of odd. Like, who would build a house and live in it for years without a door? So he grows some wheat. It looks like a very nice crop. But then before he can harvest, there's a plague of locusts. And they eat all of his wheat. So now he's got to make it through the winter. And, he keeps thinking about how, yeah, this door of mine keeps the cold out. And, keeps the locusts out. He just really loves this door. This door is like his guardian angel. And then he manages to make it one more year and grow some more wheat. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty good crop. But then a tornado comes. So right when he's about to run into his house to escape, the tornado hits him. It wouldn't have mattered anyway because it seems to shatter the whole house. And he's holding for dear life onto his door, being whipped around by this tornado. Man, I like this John Severin art. Oh, God, these 2 panels are so amazing. Look at this. Him getting swept up in the tornado. I love here, you can just see him a little tiny here, still holding onto the door. That's a great panel. And then after what seems like an eternity, He wakes up on the ground, buck naked. The tornado ripped his clothes off. He's alive. And he says that, yeah, the cyclone took everything from me, my house, my wheat. Maybe it's a sign that I should just go back east. I was probably never meant to come out here. But then he sees something in the sky, and it's his door, falling lazily, twisting against the sun. And it lands right in the ground. And he says, on the other hand, maybe it was a sign that I haven't gone far enough. And he walks to the door once again, heading west. Kind of like that story. In fact, I liked it so much, I was wondering, I wonder which author Bill Mantlo ripped this off of. Sorry, a little joke there. Bill Mantlo was caught a couple times being a plagiarist. It's a little comics lore there. So now we have, this is a real treat. So this is written by Stephen Perry, longtime associate and writer for Steve Bissette. And you can probably tell just by looking at it, this is art by Steve Bissette. This is like really rough-hewn Steve Bissette art. So this takes place in 1868. And we see this guy, Ezekiel Brewster. He's a schoolmaster. And he gets caught in a flash flood while he's riding on his horse. Looks like he's going to die. He's going to drown. But he grabs onto something. And when the water passes, he sees something remarkable. He sees the skeletons of like hundreds of dinosaurs. This is called the Saurian remains. So this is, I think, true history. 1868 was I don't know if you want to call it the golden age of dinosaur exploration. And there was a lot of money to be made in fossils. And the two guys who kind of were the main rivals in paleontology, this old guy named C.O. Marshall, he was the curator at the Yale Museum of Natural History. And then this young upstart named Copeland Drinker III, a brash and eccentric rising star in the paleontology field. So they're having a little conference at Yale. And actually, that's a little too rough-hewn Steve Bissette right there. But still, I like Steve Bissette, even at his worst. Not that this is. But because, look at that. When he draws these portraitures, that, Daguerreau types of these two guys, look at the amazing craftsmanship in there. So, Marshall is basically, he's pretending to congratulate Drinker on his newest discovery. He's put together this whole dinosaur. But then he basically says, but you would think that the vertebrae would go this way. And because basically he's realized that Drinker put the head where the ass should be. He didn't realize. He just forgot about the vertebrae. That would, tell him where the head should be. And he grabs the skull and puts it where it should be. Basically humiliating Drinker in front of all of his colleagues. And he runs just screaming. That's kind of weird. He's like, ah! He's so humiliated. He runs outside and he sees this telegraph kit delivery person. And he says, telegram from Mr. Marshall. And Drinker grabs it. And the kid's like, hey, I need proof that you're Mr. Marshall. He's like, shut up, kid. And this telegram is from that guy from the first page, from Ezekiel Brewster. And he says, I have found the remains of several thousand dinosaurs. Meet me at once in Hanbury. So he throws the note away. And then this guy's watching from behind the bushes. I love that face there. And it turns out that this is C.O. Marshall. It's kind of like his goon. Because I guess it was such a cutthroat business that, some of these dinosaur hunters, they had to have goons to maybe rough up the other guys. They were all kind of, just like in the gold rush, If you found some dinosaur bones, a ruthless paleontologist might like just push you off the land and be like, this is ours now. We're taking them. So this guy's just he's a pretty strapping guy. His name's Brains. That's his name. And I think that's an ironic name. So, of course, Brewster is already headed out to Hanbury. And Brains has rushed ahead because he's not encumbered by paleontological equipment and stuff. He's just on a horse. And he's basically going to try to kill Drinker. He knocks this giant rock down on the school teacher, Ezekiel and Drinker, and it kills Ezekiel. But then the rock breaks up, and a dinosaur comes out. Not a dinosaur, fossils, a fucking dinosaur, and it's alive. I guess this rock is made of some black substance. And it kept this little dinosaur alive. So this is just like, this changes everything. And so everyone, Marshall finds out about this. And basically tells all his goons, like, I need that dinosaur. You gotta steal that from him. So Drinker's kind of raising him like a pet. He's feeding him and stuff. And just thinking about how, his name will be forever illuminated by paleontologists in the future. Like his reputation is assured. But then Brains shows up with his goons. Brains tries to grab the dinosaur, and it bites his hand. And then all the goons tackle the dinosaur. And they leave. And Drinker here is left unconscious in the mud until he wakes up. I love when Steve Bissette does stuff like this. It's kind of interesting panel design. So luckily, for Drinker, the train was late to take this guy back to, Yale, Brains. And which gives a Drinker enough time. I guess he might have actually stowed away in the train. I don't know. And he comes up behind Brain with a pickaxe, buries it in his shoulder. Brains throws him off the train. But Drinker, I don't know how he managed to do this, swung under the carriage and held on. So they get to Yale. And Drinker's there, hot on Brains' tracks. And Brains trips. And the dinosaur breaks out of the crate. He puts a little muzzle on him and delivers him to Marshall's office. But then right then, Drinker comes in with a little derringer. And he shoots, Brains attacks him. He shoots him a bunch of times. But Brains is such a big muscular oaf. He keeps lunging at him, and they fall over this railing. Brains lands right on a triceratops horn. They don't show the gore. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a panel somewhere in Bissette's files where he showed it, but then Marvel censored it. Because it's a really, that would have been a great shot. So Drinker says, "That dinosaur's mine, Marshall." And they start grabbing it from both ends, having a little tug-of-war. They're like, "It's mine, it's mine." And they end up killing the dinosaur. They both agreed to never tell anyone about this ever again, because both of their reputations would be ruined. And as Drinker left the Yale Museum, and apparently he switched the skull on this brontosaurus. No one noticed for more than a century, and Marshall would take the blame. He gives thanks, Steve Bissette gives thanks to Rick Veitch for 11th hour art assistance. So it does sound like Steve Bissette had the deadline doomed for this one. That's maybe why it's so rough hewn. But really fun story. I would love to read a whole bunch of stories about these paleontologists back in the 1860s fighting for fossils. And we have a letter page and ads. And that's it for Amazing High Adventure number 4. I don't know, maybe check out the other issues, but I'm pretty sure I did own them and I found them lacking. But this issue is definitely worth owning. Just each story actually is worth the price of admission. And all 3 stories I think are really good. And man, the art in that John Bolton is just stunning. So hope you guys like looking at this today with me. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.